Hey everyone, welcome to My City Videos. We are live today on the Oregon State campus. My name is Jeff Silverman, your host today. If you don't know what My City Videos is, we are a show all about Corvallis, great nonprofits in town, people doing great work. And today we are live, as I just mentioned, and we have some great guests. Sitting with me today is Daniel and Jesse Lister. And they're doing some great work in Haiti. And so we wanted to bring them into the show and hear all about what you guys are doing. So welcome, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet. So first of all, give us a little background on yourselves. I know you guys are just coming up on 2 years of marriage.
Yeah. We got married, I should know this off the top of my head, March 24th, 2013. So yeah, a couple more months, it'll be 2 years. It's been great. She went to school here. We live in Corvallis. It's good. What else about us?
Well, here's the interesting part. How you guys met is related to what we're going to talk about today, and that's Haiti.
Sure.
So how does Haiti fit into how you guys both met, Jesse?
Okay, so we actually both went to Haiti before we actually knew each other. So I went down in 2012, about 4 months after the earthquake, the big earthquake that was down there. 2000, what did I say?
2010. Sorry.
2010.
Yeah.
Sorry. That was about 4 months after the earthquake happened. I just went down to do some relief work. And then he had gone down also
before the earthquake in 2009.
2009.
And just to kind of see, I was with some friends who have kind of started the work that we're continuing and helping with now. Kind of see the country, to see the culture, to experience. We, got to go in 3 different areas, all around the country, which was really cool.
So how did you guys meet
yeah.
through Haiti? How did that all come together?
So after that, we both did stints with Youth with a Mission, which is another mission organization. We did our DTSs. This is before we knew each other. I did mine in Mexico, and she did hers in Colombia. And through my experience, I met one of her best friends growing up, who was from Klamath Falls, Oregon, and I was from Corvallis, or around the area. And we became friends, and through our friendship, I met Jesse. And so that's kind of how that happened.
Okay, so now you guys have both been to Haiti twice, though, since your marriage. So in the last 2 years,
we've been once together, and it was before we were married. We were dating still,
which is kind of how we started our relationship. Really, was through planning that second trip that we went on together. We were the only 2 people that we knew of that had gone before, and so we decided to get a group of people together to go down. And through meetings and planning that trip, we kind of started dating, and then ended up getting married.
Yeah.
So now you guys are looking to really get back there a third time, and also set up some things in Haiti that will help local people. And so talk about why Haiti, what are some needs there, and then more specifically, talk a little bit about the terracing gardens, and in a few minutes we'll look at some pictures of what that is. But what has got you guys tugged towards Haiti?
Sure. Well, I can speak for both of us when we went there the first time. And being in other countries, Haiti is just a completely different ballgame. The culture is way different than anything I've ever experienced. The level of poverty is way more extreme. And so that, to me, kind of, I guess, gave me a burden for the country. As a Christian, I believe that you can't love God and not love poor people at the same. It's one and one. Like you have to serve God by serving poor. I think that's kind of makes sense. And so when we put our trip together in 2012, we kind of tag teamed along with another group out of Spokane, 2 other churches up there, and friends from the area. Actually, one of the pastors up there is from, Albany, Corvallis area. And so we went with them, and at that time they were called Pizzi Pizzi, which is a Creole proverb and Creole is the language of Haiti. for what it means is little by little the bird builds its nest. And so their idea was, okay, we're not going to go down and just pretend we know everything. You know, they took a very humble approach to their development. And so we got to go down and see, you know, all the projects that they were helping fund. Terracing being one, community gardens being another, other ag projects like goat breeding, and just all these multifaceted things that they were doing. And so through that, you know, we kind of were like, this cause is really awesome. Their approach they're taking is really awesome. Sign us up. How do we help? How can we invest in this cause?
So do both of you guys have an ag background?
Not really.
Okay.
I have a similar type background. I have a degree in fisheries and wildlife sciences, and grew up on a fish farm. So that's
Okay.
about the extent of my agriculture.
So you mentioned the three things. You mentioned terracing, some agriculture stuff. No, I didn't know what terracing was until I saw it. So this is new to Haiti, terracing, or talk about what terracing is. Explain it for people who've never heard the expression before.
Okay, so terracing basically is digging small ditches or plains in hillsides that have been eroded, basically, deforested. One of the big issues in Haiti is using one of their primary fuels for cooking is charcoal, and so they cut the trees down to make charcoal to cook, and so that leaves hillsides that don't have any vegetation because there's no trees to hold nutrients and to hold water on the hillside. When Haiti gets a lot of rain in certain seasons, the soil and the nutrients and everything just ends up down in the valley, you know, or out in the bay or wherever, you know, the drainage, you know, leads into. So terracing helps stop the flow of the nutrients and water and soil that's coming off the hillsides.
Okay, one second. Let's
Sure.
see if we can bring up a photo of the terracing just so we could all get a visual on that. Can you guys pull up the terracing photo for us? Do you guys well, we're looking at Haiti now. Explain this picture to us real quick.
Yeah, so what you have here is this is a big terracing project that's outside of the little community called Godin. And you see guys sitting on the terraces there, and they're the local workers. They're local guys who live, you know, within the vicinity, and they're being paid as a wage, a living wage. They're being provided a living wage by CREOLE to dig all these ditches, basically. And you can start to see some of the initial growth on there.
So on the far hill that we're looking at, are those terraces
Yeah.
up there? I mean, you kind of see them in the distance?
Yeah, definitely. Those are all very young terraces within the last 2 to 3 years. We actually got to climb that exact area when we were there in 2012.
Okay, can we go to the next slide, see what's next?
Sure. Yeah, so that gives you a good picture of what kind of labor these guys are doing.
So I asked you before the show, we talked about heavy machinery. Is that one of the things they need out there? And it sounded like, no, they just need people, and you guys are trying to give people a living wage.
Absolutely.
There. So let's go back to the pictures again and talk about, you don't need heavy machinery, that most of these guys are working by hand.
Yeah. So we're kind of the guy who's at least in this area, Pastor A. Woad, he's a local pastor there. And what he does is he oversees all of the workers, and he'll take, say, 5 guys from the community and 5 guys from his church. And through the money that CREOLE provides, those guys get employed. And what happens is, you know, discipleship happens, and it's kind of a multi kind of faceted thing. So they're getting money to put their kids through school, stuff like that. They're growing food and they're helping the environment, and they're learning about Jesus. So I mean, it's really cool.
Awesome. Let's go back to the slides again and see if we can see some more pictures of some other stuff. Now, this is on a trip you guys were at recently?
Yeah.
Is this your last trip here? Some of the pictures we're going to see?
2012. Yeah,
okay. All right, so there we're seeing terracing. So what kind of product do they grow in here? What kind of vegetation, vegetables, fruit?
Yeah, so they can. Do you want to take that one?
Yeah, they can grow pretty much anything in the terraces. It's just basically a ditch, and so there's soil that builds up in there after it rains, and there's nutrients in this ditch, and so you can plant a lot of stuff, different things in the village that we were talking about, Godin. I know they've recently planted some beans that they've actually harvested already, so they have some beans going. We actually also visited some older terraces that were about 10 years old, and the vegetation was so thick we could barely walk through the area. They had mango trees, they had, I don't know, like papayas, and they have coffee growing in there.
So basically, they max out the valley with growing and farms. And so terracing helps them spread out to the hillsides where they've already treed and taken out a lot of the trees.
Yeah.
So it's really making use of the hillsides.
Yeah. They CREOLE likes to call it land renewal.
Okay.
And so I think that's just a cool thing.
Very cool. So the organization CREOLE Inc., we can maybe bring in their logo here, CREOLEinc.org.
Yeah, I believe is the website.
Is the organization that you guys are working with, and they help facilitate workers, monies. What else do they do?
Yeah, so they also have a farm down there, and there they do numerous projects, banana projects, where what they're doing is using a disease-resistant strain of bananas down there. You go down to Haiti and you see all these local farmers, these little guys who are growing bananas, but you can tell they're not very healthy. The banana plants aren't that big. When we went to the farm in 2012, they were the biggest banana plants I've ever seen in the country, and I've been in, all the way down to the south and up to the north. The biggest trees I've ever seen in Haiti as far as bananas go. And so that was a disease-resistant strain of banana that they have implemented. And what they're trying to do is get that seed to the local market so these local farmers can get a better variety of banana plants and help, their yields and everything. They're also growing peanuts. There might be some pictures on here of the peanut project for another nonprofit called Meds and Food for Kids, which what they're doing is taking the peanuts that CREOLE and the local farmers grow and turning that into a peanut butter, a fortified peanut butter that is used to combat malnourishment and used in local orphanages and stuff, and really helping that.
So the photo we're looking at now, is this the place where you guys will be going back here on your third trip in January?
Yeah, so this is down off of the hillsides of Godin, down in the kind of the valley there, in a town called Vaudreuil. And that is a community garden, so you're having local workers come. And these two guys are ag techs that CREOLE employs. And so they've gone to school in Haiti or in the Dominican, depending on where they're at, to learn agriculture. And, just like we would go to college here, they go to college, as an ag tech. And then CREOLE employs them to run the farm and run and oversee a lot of the ag projects down there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about ownership of land in Haiti. Do you guys know much about, is it government owned a lot of times? How do they feed their people? And it seems to be a problem there. So what is there corruption? Is there just not enough food to go around? What are some of the needs?
Yeah. So Haiti is very complicated when it comes to government. I don't know a lot. I mean, I'm researching and learning things as I go, but so there's been a lot of, over the last 20 years, 30 years, there's been a lot of change in power and different coups happen, and this guy takes control, and so it's been a very tumultuous system. Everything, infrastructure, roads. I mean, it's all just kind of in disarray. So one cool, bright piece of hope that I'll let Jesse share about is a little community called Ronquite, where they have a coffee project, and I'll let her talk about that.
Yeah, so Ronquite is this little, I guess you would call it a village. It's up in the mountains, though, kind of away from the city and where all the people are. And we were shocked when we got there because the roads were clean and paved, and the people have these nice yards and these houses that are, still standing. And it looked like a really well-built city. And we asked our translators and the locals that came with us, and we asked them why is this village doing so well, and they explained to us that the mayor, I guess you would call him, of the town, invests in the people and doesn't take the money for himself, is what they told us. And so they kind of explained that a lot of Haiti is run by these people that like to take money for themselves.
Yeah, there's a lot of corruption going on
a lot of
Haiti.
corruption,
So ownership of land gets tricky. Who distributes the food and to whom?
Yeah.
But it's great that you guys are trying to make a difference out there. So also talk about in your next trip, your third trip for each of you going back, it's kind of an exploratory mission, right? You're not quite sure exactly what you'll be doing, but you're there to learn, see where the biggest need is, and then maybe come back to the States with a real definite plan. Is that kind of the goal?
Yeah, definitely. We're going to go see all the ag projects that we've seen before, but hopefully we're bringing some other people that haven't seen it. And so we're trying to gather support and awareness, and one of them being our pastor and from Corvallis Church here in Corvallis are hopefully going to come with us and see, what's going on. And we're going to go visit all the terracing and the community gardens and the farm, and we're going to go see all these projects. And but at the same time, we're also going down with Jesse's dad and mom, and he is a commercial tilapia farmer, fish biologist, and we're going to maybe research some of that. I'll let her talk a little more.
Yeah, we're gonna go visit some of the fisheries that are down there already and kind of see maybe how they do it, learn how they do it, see if they need any resources to help them do it better or more efficiently. And we're kind of interested in the whole idea of aquaponics, which is using that fish that they're already growing to actually grow vegetables with their waste. So it would be a more efficient way for them to grow food. We know that there's already some projects down there doing that, and so we kind of just want to go check it out and get a better idea of how we could help or lend some services or
Yeah,
like
and what you guys were telling me before the show too is that tilapia would really thrive in that environment and atmosphere and the hot. Yeah, so that seems like a great fit. You would think though that they get a lot of their fish from the ocean, surrounded by the ocean, but getting that inland might be troublesome?
Yeah, well, I think one of the main reasons why we want to do aquaculture, which is fish farming down there, is Jesse's a fisheries and wildlife biologist by trade, and that was her degree. And she was saying, it'll be impossible to repair the reefs and repair some of these fisheries, depleted fisheries around the world, unless you can alleviate poverty. So I'm sure most of the fisheries, natural fisheries, native fisheries in Haiti are suffering because they're being overfished. So, if we bring in aquaculture and help that kind of thrive and get off the ground there, that will help hopefully restore some of the fisheries down there. And I'm not a fisheries guy. I necessarily don't have any skills necessarily, but I kind of help connect the people and connect the dots, I guess, and raise some money along the way.
That's cool. So talk about, you guys have a contact on the ground, right? So it's you're in a phone call or an email away from somebody, an American named Brian, he's on the ground there most of the year or full time?
So Brian Grafenberger is the son of Dave Grafenberger, and Dave has been a missionary off and on there since I think around the 50s. And he works with OMS, which is One Mission Society, and they kind of have the framework for CREOLE. So when we go down with teams, we're going to go stay at the OMS base and use their translators and their transportation and stuff. So that's kind of our contact on the ground is OMS, and Dave's a big part of that. And Brian, Dave's son, helps operate the farm down there with another guy, Francois, who's out of Florida, I believe, but he's also Haitian. So
okay,
cool.
So you guys have some connections on the ground in the village that you'll be serving. How can people be a part of it? I mean, you guys are on fire for this and want to help people.
Yeah.
So how can people best get involved, one with resources, and one maybe secondly they have some time and they want to go with you and are excited about this project and see terracing firsthand?
Yeah.
What would be the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Well, definitely my email would be the best, you know, and they can also get a hold of, you know, the CREOLE guys at CREOLEinc.org.
Yeah, if we could bring up the logo, CREOLEinc.org
Yeah.
is the organization that you guys work with. And a direct email to Daniel and Jesse would be dlister, LISTER86 @gmail.com. Well, I'm really excited that you guys came on the show with us today. I hope people will get involved and support what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
And it's really a great work. So thank you all for joining us here at My City Videos. Till next time, visit us online at mycityvideos.com. Thank you.